Hi, I'm Fraser. I'm a developer here at Komodo, and I'm here to talk a little bit about Docker. So Docker is a piece of containerization software, and a container is essentially a standard piece of software that packages up the application and any dependencies and any other configuration you need. The whole point of it is so that you can shuffle around the application between different environments, whether that's locally, or in production, or on staging servers, or wherever. It contains everything you need to get the application running. One question a lot of people will be asking about Docker is, what is the difference between Docker and something like a virtual machine? So the difference is quite subtle, but also quite different and quite powerful. Whereas a virtual machine will try and replicate and abstract a hardware layer, Docker sits a layer above and only tries to replicate the operating system. That means containers tend to be quite lighter, and it also means they tend to run a little bit faster. So you might be asking what Docker is actually used for and why we use it here at Komodo. There's so many different ways you can use Docker, and all the possibilities are kind of endless, and there's no right way or wrong way to use it. But the reason we use it here at Komodo is it allows us to have one shared application environment which we can shuttle around different developers in the team, which means that if one developer has their environment set up, a second developer can be pretty confident they've got an exact same environment. Ideally, we'd have the exact same environment up in production or on staging servers, so we can be confident there's no mismatch between versions. So one thing people might want to do to sort of take their Docker game to the next level is think about orchestration. And when we talk about that, we're thinking about things like a Docker Swarm or Kubernetes. And that allows us essentially to control high volumes of Docker containers and allow them to do clever things like scale them, bring them down, perform health checks, maintenance, all sorts of good things like that. But it allows us to do them sort of as one big cluster. Massive companies, people like Google, Facebook, they'll take a lot of value out of that. And that's a technology we're really interested to explore here at Komodo. So one of the big questions you might be asking about Docker is, how does it compare to something like a virtual machine? Because on the surface of it, they're quite similar. They have very similar use cases. But actually the differences are quite subtle and key. So you'll get all the same advantages of virtual machines in that you'll have separate isolation. However, Docker containers, because they're only replicating the operating system, unlike a virtual machine, which is an abstraction layer of the hardware, they tend to be quite small and lightweight, meaning quite portable and run very fast. Now, because containers don't contain the entire operating system like virtual machines do, it allows us to get away with a little bit more in that we can run more applications under a single container than we could potentially compare to a virtual machine. So to give you a quick example of how we might structure a project using Docker, we would take advantage of something called Docker Compose, which allows us to bring up several containers at the same time and bring it together as part of a larger group. So if we take the classic PHP application, for example, we could have a container for PHP FPM, we could have a container for Nginx, we could have a container for MySQL, container for Redis. And all together, they're all networked and brought together. And actually, they're really powerful together. We can bring things up and down completely separate from one another. I feel so uncomfortable.